kind, benevolent ruler decided that he had had enough of the evil being around. And he's like nothing can exist in my kingdom that is not love. And so slowly all of the evil got like coagulated into a big giant blob as it was making its way out of the kingdom by the power of the Kree. But then some little jackass kid saw the big blob of evil and was like, I'll love you. And so all of that evil was going to go into the child. And everybody thought that would be a terrible idea to have it all concentrated into one kid. So they decided that they'd all love it a little.
That's the real takeaway here.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fantastical scenario.
It's crazy story.
It's grim grizz.
About a blob.
It's making us think about some very real questions.
It's like a mirror.
About our own choices.
Yeah.
About our responsibilities.
Reflecting back on us.
What would you do
Yeah.
if you were faced with a giant blob of evil?
With grim grizz.
With grim grizz.
Would you try to love it?
Would you try to love it away?
Would you run away?
Would you run away?
Would you fight it? Would you try to destroy it?
If everyone's a little bit evil,
Yeah.
is anyone really evil?
Wow.
I think that yes, if everyone's evil, then they are actually evil. But, you know. Good evening, Embody. Looks like we just got Slack in the audience right now. We'll see if anybody else shows up. Yeah, let me get the audio back up. I need to figure that out a little bit better. There we go. And let me just hang on 1 second. There we go. Had to get the notepad back up. Because tonight... Hang on, I gotta do the introduction properly. Howdy, Embody. Half Real here. Tonight I want to talk about how sovereignty isn't free. And we'll get going. Wake up, little knight. We got some business to take care of. A little relativistic evil. How bad could it possibly be? I don't know about that. So, gameplay-wise, we're going to be going down and trying to fight the Mantis Lords. So we'll see how far we can get with that. But yeah. I gotta get back in the groove. There we go. And then we're going down and then left. Cool. Howdy, Mills. Alright, so sovereignty is typically used in reference to a country's ability to self-govern, but it also applies to individuals. But just to kind of go over the country definition, in order for a country to remain sovereign, it has to be able to defend itself from external and internal threats. That you have to have... there we go. Really, that hits me? Well. So, any governing body... I really do have to pay more attention in this game than I do with Dark Souls. It's kind of upsetting. So whatever ruling body exists, whether that's a king, an oligarch, or a set of oligarchs, parliament... I am... Okay. They're generally not able to execute all of the tasks required for them to rule just by themselves. This is... These plants are going to be the death of me. There we go. I got greedy. I saw Geo, and I just tunneled on it. But yeah, the folks that are, within the governmental sense, sovereign, are generally not able to actually execute on all of the tasks that are required for that sovereignty to remain, Exandra, by themselves. They generally have to employ other people. I cannot get over that just yet. I can't go up there. So we're going down and then right and then, or just right and then left. Right, down, left. Okay. Apparently not that way though. From moss and leaf our life is drawn. While it grows upon the path, we shall never wilt. Yeah, so governing bodies generally need to employ other people to execute on the tasks that allow them to retain their recognized sovereignty. And when I say recognized, I mean recognized by other sovereign entities, because that seems to be kind of the way that that plays out, is that your sovereignty exists insofar as your ability to be recognized as sovereign by other sovereigns. Say that 5 times real fast. That was some pure reaction right there. Oh, you're cute, but annoying. So in that sense, sovereignty has an expense. The expense is that you have to be able to pay the people who then actually do the enforcement of your sovereignty, whether that's from external threats or internal threats. But I'm a lot less concerned about sovereignty of groups or governing bodies, and I'm a lot more concerned about the sovereignty of individuals. And the main one that I'm going to focus on for this is going to be physical sovereignty. I will try and talk about mental sovereignty a little bit as well, but that's going to be towards the end of the video and kind of off the cuff. I kind of ran out of time writing out the outline, so I got down pretty much everything I wanted to say about physical sovereignty, but there was definitely some... I didn't get a chance to write down my thoughts ahead of time for mental sovereignty, but I think I can talk off the cuff for that one. So we'll start with physical. Or, actually, hang on. How does it exact? Let's start with that. How do I comport myself in a way that keeps external forces from imposing themselves on me? That's kind of what I understand, or how I am using the idea of individual sovereignty. And that's, when I say external forces, that can be governmental forces, that can be other people, and technically speaking, all governments are just composed of people. Oh, that's irritating. And so, when you're actually trying to talk about... this guy's gonna charge. Okay. When you're trying to talk about retaining sovereignty from governments, what you're actually talking about is how do I retain my sovereignty from the individuals within that government who would seek to impose their will onto me, utilizing the authority and the legitimacy of the government. I think we tried to go in here. Yeah, I need to... I don't know why I just randomly sold. I need a lantern in order to get through that. I think technically speedrunners can do it without... Technically speedrunners can do that without needing the lantern, but I'm not a speedrunner and I don't know it like the back of my hand, so we're going to wait until we actually have the tool that we're supposed to have. But yeah, and a quick caveat with all of this discussion as well. It's technically misusable. Okay, by the way, this is a spot. This is a major death spot for a lot of new players, because for some reason the way that this is aligned makes it so that it is really hard to, you just want to wiggle back and forth to try and land on the platform here, and so many deaths. And I'm not the only one. There have been a couple of other people that I've watched play who had very similar problems, and it was a lot funnier to watch when it was happening to somebody else. Okay, we don't have the map for this area yet. The Fog Canyon. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I hear Cornifer. That's good news. So the tricky thing with these jellyfish is that if I hit the bigger ones, their little nougat... Oh, that one went into the acid, so it didn't. But okay, you can see it from this. It's going to come rocketing back. Oh, it hit a wall. That's good. I can't go through here because I can't dash, and Cornifer's on the other side of it, so that will be for later. And when I say dash, there's 2 dashes. I need the second dash in order to get through that. So not through here just yet. Then maybe back the other way. It's just a little more challenging than walking and chewing gum. I think I went too far. Now you'll see. There you go. So if you hit the big ones, the little creamy nougaty center comes and tries to rocket towards you and kill you. And then there's electric fireflies. It's a very inhospitable area. And I still could not get up. I should probably... because I think those actually do 2 damage as well, which is kind of annoying. Yep, 2 damage. There you go. Do pacifists have sovereignty? Ah, that is an interesting question, Chris. In my opinion, no. I think that if you are unwilling or unable to defend yourself using violence, then you are at a bare minimum dependent upon the sovereignty of others for your sovereignty. Can I not get over there yet? I guess not. I guess we're gonna try and go right then. This is what happens when you haven't played in a while and you don't have route planning done properly. This is the Stone Sanctuary one. Don't envy the man having to play and maintain a coherent thinky-talky. It's not so bad. Like, I've definitely... How many episodes am I on? I think I'm on, like... This is, like, 19, counting the ones that I did that were just recorded things. It definitely has gotten easier over time. I will say that. But yeah, Chris, I would say that pacifists do not have sovereignty unto themselves, but they can arguably support the sovereignty of someone who they see as a moral executor of violence. And in that way, if not having sovereignty themselves, are at least able to achieve something approximating it. Those guys are actually really hard to parry. There we go. I did it again. I did it again. Okay, I'm gonna not do an environmental damage again until I have a little bit more soul to heal. And I messed that up, so now I don't even have that soul. Or I have the same health. There we go. Much better. I'm pretty sure I can make this jump, I'm just not... Oh, wait, I can just... That makes sense. And can't go up. Can go across. Oh, and that was where we freed the caterpillar, so the only way is up. Okay. I hit it! You heard the noise! That is maddening. And I can't get up there, so that wasn't even smart to do. Okay. So anyway, caveat that the principle can technically be misused in a way to try to circumvent punishment for the impositions that somebody puts onto other people. Like, if I have an instance where I hurt somebody and I don't want them, or I don't want somebody else to be able to impose their will on me for having hurt someone else, then this technically applies as a way of defending against that as well. But it's also not the intent of this, and I don't think that, that what I'm going to be discussing is really that well suited to it either. It's just one of those sort of disclaimer thoughts that comes to my head that I kind of want to just get out there.
Tiny squib, you approach fearless. Are you a hunter like me? Do you feel the urge inside to stalk, to kill, to understand? Then take it, my journal. It will aid you. At first, the text may seem difficult to discern, but a learned hunter will come to understand its words. Venture the depths of this land and slay its beasts. Prove yourself worthy to bear the mark of hunter.
Taken a Hunter's Journal. Press select, go to the journal pane. Defeat enemies to add new entries to the journal and decipher the Hunter's notes. So that, there's not really too much of a reward with that, I don't think. But it does let me show the names of all of these different things that I've been murdering. So, would sovereignty be based on supremacy of force? If you can't win a fight, that's the issue with pacifism, right? Yes, but as I'm going to try and get into with this, there's a lot more to fighting than just mere might. Specifically, that there are a lot of physical requirements that it takes to sustain oneself that are much more my focus. Like, I definitely think that you should be able to defend yourself physically, and I think that that is that has to be a prerequisite of sovereignty to a degree. But I also don't think that I don't think that that's even the main place that... And there's the first death of the stream, which I had full soul that I could have healed for. Well, is Grizz around? I guess you guys will have to let him know when he comes, if he comes. Abbreviated version, what is sovereignty outside of might makes right? Abbreviated version is you have to... There's a lot of things that you have to do to maintain yourself that you are in some... In order to be economically efficient, you have to be dependent on other people in order to be economically efficient. Whether that's food, whether that's water, whether that's shelter. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm going to be talking about here that factor into your ability to say no to other people that are not strictly related to use of force. And I would say that those are probably a lot more important and pernicious ways that sovereignty is taken from people, rather than actually at the tip of a spear, at the point of a gun, or at the heel of a jackboot. And we're going up and then left. Very stinky. Who ever heard of a farting bug? Okay. And left and then up. Alright, so I kind of already touched on it, but just to go through the full list. In order for me to maintain my physical body, I need food, water, shelter, and heat. And so the question is, what degree of autonomy do I have with each of those? I'm trying to go a little bit into growing my own food, but I definitely am not capable of growing my own food long enough to be able to... Or I don't have, enough food to be able to sustain myself until I was able to be self-sustaining with growing my own food. Do I not make that jump? No, I can't make that jump. I think I have to have Mothwing, Cloak, or a Dash to get up there. Okay. So where else can we go? There's the Stagway. There's the Forgotten Crossroads. What's the right of Dirtmouth? I don't recall. Okay, well, we're going to go up that way, and then we're going to see where we go from there. Oak galls make a little cloud when they pop. Yep. Gotta have some way to distribute the spores. So, while I'm like trying to grow a little bit of my own food, it's really economically prohibitive to do so. The inexpensive nature of a lot of, especially basic foodstuffs, whether that's rice or potatoes, even meat to a degree, it is much more expensive as a general rule to grow your own food or raise your own animals on a small scale than to work in some official capacity and then use that money to pay for whatever food you are consuming. You're going to spend a lot more time. You're probably going to spend more money, although maybe you will eventually be able to either break even or go positive, but the amount of time that you're investing and the opportunity cost associated with that, you're almost always going to end up being in the negative if you try and grow your own food. I do keep a decent stock of food in my house, both for cost savings from buying in bulk. Like, it's a lot less expensive to buy rice in 50-pound bags rather than just buying it in 5 or 10-pound increments. And then also just as a hedge against emergencies, we didn't, like, my wife and I didn't really have to worry that much during COVID because we had everything that we needed for a while. We had plenty of toilet paper, we had plenty of food. It wasn't like we weren't panicking of how are we going to get basic necessities? How are we going to avoid getting sick from other people at the grocery store? It's like we can chill at home. It's not that big of a deal. But there's things that I have to trust in if I'm going to be dependent on grocery stores. I have to trust that the logistics chain that grocery store is reliant upon is not going to be significantly disrupted. And so that's kind of the difficulty with the acid leaks, is that it's just really hard to land precisely on those platforms. Anyway, I have to trust that the logistics chain won't be severely disrupted. I have to trust that the payment processing that I typically use will continue working, although I do try to keep some cash on hand in order to be able to hedge against that. And then I have to trust that I won't be outright banned from acquiring food for them, which might seem like a little bit of a silly concern, and maybe it is. But the thing that kind of keeps me up at night is the debanking things that were happening during the trucker protest in Canada. And how, yes, that eventually did get reversed, not because anybody realized that it was a bad policy, but because other people were starting to panic and take their money out of the banks, and it was on the verge of risking bank runs because people were losing confidence in their ability to store their money in the bank, because if the bank can just say, yeah, sorry, we don't want to keep you anymore, then it kind of presents a bit of a problem. So there's other, and that's, yeah, I'll just go ahead and talk about that now. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is the ways that the powers that be are retaining their sovereignty and their ability to enforce their will on you is through the collective complicity of the populace. And if the actions that they are taking are affecting too large of a portion of the populace, then those actions are no longer viable. And let's talk to Quirrell, or Tiso, sorry. Pale thing, you wear that nail with ease. If you're in search of combat, you'll find no great warriors in this decaying burrow. I've heard an arena exists somewhere below, one built for our like. Meet me there, and we'll test what skills you possess. I'll be heading down soon. Come and find me, if you dare. Scale. Nothing is meant to be individual. Oh, Zote did live. You there. Why are you skulking about in the shadows? Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I am Zote the Mighty, a knight of great renown. Tremble before me. While you were hiding in your dingy little village, I ventured into the dark pit below and slew a great beast. It had sharp mandibles and atrocious manners. Yes, yes, all glory to me, but I don't have time for your adulation. I must rest and prepare for my next journey down. Okay, so you almost got eaten by what are those things called? A Vengefly King. You almost got eaten by a Vengefly King, but you keep telling yourself that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Pampanada.
I don't think I need anything else from you just yet, but I do want to see what Sly has. I think this is the... yeah, this is the station. Nothing... less nothing individual, but society is not just the sum of individual production. Yes, correct. I'm trying to translate force into an economy of scale frame.
Patamas, Gio.
Thomas Jill. Let's see. Okay, we'll save up for the Lumifly Lantern because that's one of the main ways that we're continuing to progress. Do you have anything else to say? Oh, what a turn! Our shopkeeper's come home. Just wandered back in. I'd hoped for grand tales of his time below, but he seems to remember almost nothing. Maybe it was all too much for him. If you're interested in his wares, watch out. He drives a hard bargain, that one. No competition, that's the problem. It's bad for the market, not that he's complaining. Okay. So one of the ways that I'm trying to reclaim some of my food sovereignty is by raising chickens for eggs. And the reality is that it is going to take a significant... do I want to go to green path? Hang on, let me check my map. What's going to be the better way to go? Because there's some paths that might be accessible near the Stagway. Yeah, we'll check that out, and if not, we can come back here. Much like farming, individuals can't really own their own fighter jets. No, but they can own their own Cessnas. It's going to be really challenging for somebody to make their own Cessna, and like it's going to be... like, you're going to have to go to school for engineering, and you're going to basically be forfeiting a very large amount of money in terms of opportunity cost to make your own airplane rather than working for someone else and then learning to fly in your spare time. Or like using that money to buy a prefabricated or mass-produced airplane. But oh, did we just not go after? Okay, that's why. So this was where we fought Hornet last time, and that gate opened up. And because I wanted to go back and call it a day, I just didn't know. Okay, can I? Oh, can I? Wait, do I? I do have dash. That's right. Okay. Drones are complicating things in that regard. Yes, they are. Especially the first-person drones. Those ones are really interesting. Okay, can I jump from here and then dash? There we go. That's one of the interesting things about playing a game like this, by the way, is that like, you have to sort of retool the way that you think about the game and the way that you think about how things are connected whenever you gain new abilities, because things become possible that weren't possible before. And then you also have to sort of retool your brain backwards again if you want to replay the game, because there's going to be things that were possible that are no longer possible, and so you have to kind of like keep that, like, what's the possibility space of your current game state in mind. There's Quirrell. Update our map and talk to him. Ah, hello there. Seems we both tread far from the path. I can hardly believe those dusty old highways led to such a lush and lively place. This building suggests from some form of worship, though its idol has clearly been long forgotten. Doubles equally well for a moment's respite. He's a cool dude. We'll see more of him later. Yeah, you're not bothering anybody. I'll leave you alone. Now that I know that I have a dash, let's see if we can go and find where that dash is supposed to be applied. Yeah. So one of the ways I'm trying to reclaim some of my food sovereignty is by raising chickens for eggs. And that is a fairly economically foolhardy thing to do. The amount of money that I have invested in infrastructure to be able to safely keep my chickens, and not just that, but like we've had some issues with that security, with that infrastructure, that we've lost a couple of chickens and then had to replace the chickens, and generally it's a lot more challenging, especially if you don't have that experience already growing up. So it's expensive, or it can become expensive. And it's definitely more expensive than just buying eggs from the grocery store. That's the main thing. And like, even if I do, and I kind of mentioned this before, even if I do end up saving money, it's 3 hits, that's annoying. Even if I do end up saving money over time, the amount of time that I've invested in taking care of those chickens, it makes it so that opportunity cost wise, it's definitely not worth it. Like, it's, if I were to just pay, stupid bush. If I were to just pay for eggs, that would make a lot more economic sense. The green children walked from the dream unto these lands. Here we shall now wait, patient for the call to return. There we go. Okay, we gotta go up and then right. And I dashed into it, that's annoying. So sovereignty comes down to the ability to say no exactly. At least that's my understanding of it. And if somebody wants to come on later and say why they disagree, I would really enjoy hearing it, but that's kind of the conclusion that I've come to. And it's not, to respond to Chris, it's not just that sovereignty costs money, because it might not be money that's the cost. It might be your time, it might be your effort, it might be learning a skill that you otherwise wouldn't have learned. But there's going to be some cost associated. There's going to be something that you have to do that you wouldn't otherwise have done, or something that you will have to pay that you otherwise wouldn't have paid in order to be able to say no when somebody else wants to impose their will onto you. I would say no is probably the more accurate one, Mills, just because that's kind of... It's less about being able to choose arbitrarily from... You see, that's just rude. It's less about being able to choose arbitrarily between alternatives and more about being able to not choose an option that is being, that you're being compelled to choose by someone else exerting force on you. We can say no to an awful lot of different things, but can we actually opt out? Yeah. And I don't think... So, and this is the interesting thing, I don't actually think that opting out is what you're supposed to do. And that might sound kind of weird, given what I've been talking about already, but I think that the big thing is... Oh, this is a trap, isn't it? Yep, it's a trap. And I swung the wrong way. Okay, we're focusing on the... Oh gosh, am I just gonna die? Hopefully not. Do I heal? Nope, I just die. Number 2. Howdy, Ron. I said no to taxes and the government was totally okay with that. I'm a sovereign citizen. I'm just traveling here. Yeah, that doesn't tend to work out so well for you. If for no other reason, then pretty much everybody else is okay with the LARP that we've constructed. And when you start trying to deviate too far from that LARP, people just look at you like you're crazy. Even if you want... And the reality is that even if you try to say, I'm a sovereign citizen, you're still dependent on the goodwill and the force exerted by the government on other people. So, yeah, no. You're not really sovereign in that way, even if you want to try and claim that you are. Oh, come on. That's just... Ugh. That's just silly. I hate Greenpath. I hate Greenpath. Didn't railroads not pay taxes for a while? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. But a lot of times... Oh, who was I? I think I was having this discussion with Mills and Ups earlier. The... Again, I hate Greenpath. The way that quote-unquote taxes get paid by large organizations is not by directly paying the taxes in the way that you typically pay them. It's by paying bribes or other kinds of money to very powerful or politically powerful people, and them then allowing you to break certain rules. So they're still paying the government, they're just not paying the government in the way that you think that they should, and then as a consequence of that, did I? Okay, we're good. That money's not going towards the things that you think it should be, but there is still money being paid to the government. I need to incorporate to have sovereignty. I don't know if being a... Because when you say incorporate, the thing that really just makes me think of is that you have to be an LLC, or have an LLC. And it's less about that, and it's more about just having that recognition of sovereignty from other sovereign individuals. And the idea, again, is that what you're trying to do is not to just never have no one ever able to tell you what to do, because in order for things to function, you really have to... I need to go back this way. You have to be willing to cede a certain amount of decision-making to some external body, I think. And I'm not really thrilled about that, but in order for things to just to be able to function, you have to have some level of decision-making authority surrendered to some higher body who's able to resolve disputes between people. Here's a tricky thought. Are people who opted out more or less sovereign than those who did not? I think that they actually end up being less sovereign, honestly. Once I'm a corporation, I'll have all rights and no responsibilities. I mean, for those who have watched Altered Carbon, unless you are immortal like a Methuselah, I don't think that you can really make the claim that you have sovereignty as a like a corporation does, unless you can have the immortality that a corporation does. So, getting back to what I was talking about, eggs are gonna... It's sort of economically foolish for me to be paying the money for the infrastructure and then exerting the time that I do in order for me to have eggs, or me to have chickens that lay eggs for me. But, and this is the thing for me, there's other aspects of that I find valuable enough that I am willing to pay money for that. And part of that is that execution of sovereignty, and the other part of that is that let me try and find some bugs to kill so I can go in with full soul. And the other part of it is that you rat. Okay, I'm gonna leave and come back, and then that'll respawn things. And he fell down a hole. I also really strongly value the fact that I know how the chickens that are providing the eggs to me are being treated, because I know how factory farms get run generally, and I know how poorly so many chickens are treated, and the absolute uncaring attitude that so many of those factory farms have towards the lives of the birds that they're responsible for. And yeah, they're chickens. They're not that bright. They're not that special. They're a dime a dozen. But I get a lot of value out of that. Out of knowing that I'm at least trying to help keep things positive as far as the life that is lived in order to sustain mine. And other people are probably going to say, that's stupid. Like, you should just be trying to make sure that you keep your wallet thick. That you shouldn't be worried about a bunch of stupid chickens. Maybe, but that's, for me personally, I find that very valuable. You get to name the chickens and their pets. Yep. We have 4 chickens right now. Their names are Lathander, Saluna. We had Shar. Shar was our Thanksgiving guest. And then we have Henny and Cream from our previous round. Alright. Just slam him, and now I just have to kill one of these. And then I get that, and then I should have... Okay. Okay. As long as it's just one, it's not nearly as bad. And I could have not tanked that, but I was being impatient. And I'm really being impatient. Oh, goodness. Okay, we're gonna heal one just so I don't die from a stupid hit. Oh, gosh, that was tragic. Okay. I think taking care of animals in a proper way is in the Bible. I don't know where that would be, but I would believe it. Alright, so the next one, because I talked about food, water, shelter, and heat, the next topic is water. So where I'm at, we are on city water, and so I am dependent on them for that. I have to pay a significant bill each month for water and sewer services, and there's a bunch of things that I am trusting in. I'm trusting that the water company will not intentionally contaminate the water. I'm trusting that they will safeguard their facilities well enough to prevent other people from contaminating that water. I am trusting that they will conduct proper maintenance of their systems and of their distribution network in order to keep things safe and healthy and prevent things from contaminating it in that way. And I'm trusting that they won't shut off my water for any other number of reasons. Again, it's unlikely, but I really don't think it's out of the question. And so, to kind of combat that, I recently bought some food-grade 55-gallon drums to use as rain barrels. And the intent with that is mostly just to have water to water plants with. I'm not really going to be planning on using that as drinking water in any meaningful capacity. But it's kind of one of those, okay, I am going to have this reserve of water. I can't dash because I hit that. Okay, well, let's go get the shade, and then I can worry about charging up. This is not the way. It's up and then the other way. Gotcha, bitch. You should get a chicken and call it Friend of the Colonel. That is a little dark, Ron. You are allowed to do filtering if you find it necessary. Yep, and we do filter. Well, I have a Brita filter, and I can taste the difference between filtered and non-filtered. I used to not be able to, and then my wife said, "You drink peasant water?" when we first started dating, and so I was forced to start drinking filtered water, and now I can't drink peasant water anymore. So there's that. And yes, Chris, rain can be tricky. I strongly disagree with the notion that rain can be owned by somebody, especially if you're just collecting it off of the roof of a structure. I think that that is absolutely insane. And I understand that that water is a precious resource when you're in a dry climate, but I don't think it's ever so precious that you can or should prevent people from collecting it below certain quantities. Like, obviously, if you're hoarding all of the water that's running off of a large swath of land, then that's a problem. Or potentially a problem. I don't think it really is even that much of a problem, but it is potentially a problem. But what seems to happen more is that you just have... Yeah. I don't agree with it. I'm gonna need some lobbyists once Slack Company LLC is up and running. We'll get some public policy. It's gonna be great. Chickens for all. Yeah. And so, again, talking about like the cost of sovereignty, oh, the other one's dead. That's awesome. That makes this significantly easier. Even if I do continue to take stupid hits. There we go. And now that's done. Does it go this way and the other way? Hey! There is a treasure down here. What do you know? A Balder shell. And this one helps give defense when you are trying to heal. Nope, the music, the enemies are dead. You can turn the violins off. Okay. I can't hoard water, I'm not chest. Oof. Howdy, Slasha. Good to see you. In Colorado, for example, all the watershed from a particular area is divided up. Yep. I don't know exactly where it is, because that's not something that I've like looked into strongly, but I know that especially in those drier climates, that water rights become much more of a concern. Okay. So we went down that little rabbit hole. Was there another path that we could go on up this way? Or was it just... I think it was just this chest. It was just this chest up here. Okay. Well, there's more geo up here. I think, what was it, 1600 or 1800 for the lamp? So we still got a ways to go for that. I don't think this goes anywhere else. Let me just check below and see if there's another path forward. I think it was just this, though. Yeah, it's just this. Howdy, Foxman. Oh, that reminds me. I should plug... That's 3 for those counting at home. Us up in the Northwest are doing a campfire here in a couple of weeks. We're gonna go out to Fort Worden for an evening and have a campfire and some good food and do an estuary together. President Foxman's gonna be there, and I'll be there, and I think Nate and his wife are planning on coming out, although they're going to be staying in a hotel rather than in a tent. And Slack is going to be there with his wife and daughter, and it's going to be a good time. And I want to bring that up because I'm guessing that most everybody else in the chat is not in the Pacific Northwest and would not be able to attend. But I want to bring that up more as a point to encourage other people. I think I probably would have tried to do it even if Grizz hadn't made it a point of trying to promote it, but I'll give credit where credit's due. That was kind of his push, is like, hey, like, we need to be getting people out to state parks and state campgrounds and having those sorts of estuary, like smaller estuary events, but on a regional basis rather than just doing Northwestuary and Midwestuary and the ones that came before that, Thunder Bay and Chino and all that. that we need to, if we want to really make it a thing, it's going to take people having that more deliberate approach. And I was looking at my map, you little cretin. Here, come here. Come here. You know what? Just because I don't have to kill you, but I'm making it a point. Come here. There. How dare you? I'll let you live. Slash is in the PNW. Ooh. Are you on Grizz's Discord server? Or you know what? No, I will send you the poster, so you know the details. And if you are wanting to come up, it's gonna be Port Townsend, Fort Worden State Park, April 12th and 13th. The Pink Moon Northwestuary Campout. Should be good. It'll be really cool to meet you in person. It was worth it, Slack. It was absolutely worth it to take the time to kill that monster. That little bush monster. Alright. I need to reclaim my geo. So for those that are not aware, Hollow Knight is kind of considered a Souls-like, in part because of the way that it handles death mechanics. So you have Geo as your currency in this similar way to how Dark Souls has souls as your currency. And then you lose your Geo on death, and then you have the ability to go to wherever you died to reclaim it. Technically, we've met in person? Were you at the Pacific Northwest Ferry? You were at Grimm's birthday Huh! Shows how much attention I pay. Jeez. That's really cool. I didn't know everyone who was there, so that definitely checks out. Well, damn. It was a very full table. Only at the bash, not the function. Okay. Alright. So where was I as far as the monologue goes? Because I want to try and wrap it up in the next couple of minutes so I can let people come on if they want to. 55-gallon drums. Secondary tent is that they have a store of emergency water. And that water would need to be boiled if I wanted to use it for drinking, but it's better than not having any supply at all. There we go. Shade reacquired. And this area does not have anything else for me, so we're going to go back. And I'm going to jump on the spikes. That was definitely intentional. Alright. Alright, so the next one, shelter. I own my house, but technically the bank owns it and I pay a mortgage on it. And if I were to ever fail to pay that mortgage, then that the house would be reclaimed from me, and I would lose all of the equity that I had invested in it up until this point. Which is really not great. But it's also the only way to both feasibly be generating... Ow. You know what, I'm just gonna go buy you. I don't want to deal with you right now. No, and I partly healed but didn't commit to it because I didn't think I had the soul for it. And by having a mortgage... Oh, that was a far fall. I am trusting in a couple of things. I am trusting that I will be employed continually during that mortgage period. I'm trusting that I won't have a significant enough break in that employment to be unable to pay and lose that equity. I'm trusting that the market will remain stable enough that I'll be able to transfer that equity to another property in the future if I ever have to move. I'm trusting that the government won't invoke eminent domain and pay me well below market value for my property, which not really a concern where I'm living right now, but it's definitely something to keep in mind and a concern that could be present if I moved somewhere else. Here we go. Okay, now we're in a new area. Trying to remember. Okay, I think this just connects back that way. And I don't really have a way of improving my sort of shelter sovereignty much. The only way that I would maybe approach that would be trying to engage in participating in city governance a little bit more. But that's really the only way I can think of that I could, within the current systems and the current economic constraints that I'm under, like, if I want to be establishing equity, then that's kind of like, and I'm reasonably sure that I'll be able to stay employed. I'm not so concerned about that, but it's definitely still something that is in the back of my mind of like, oh hey, this is a risk that you need to make sure that you're keeping in mind of like, if conditions change, this is one of those conditions that if it changes, you could really get messed up if you don't have the ability to correct course on it. Get off the bench, stupid birds. Alright. Oh, there was a path that I missed. Okay. And then is there... There is. There we go. Is this the part where the housing market crashes and the store value of my home doesn't evaporate? Yeah, I don't... So I think that there's too much stuck in, especially like larger real estate loans, for it to be that much of a concern. But it's definitely one of those, like, if for instance Washington suffered a fate, or the Pacific Northwest suffered a fate similar to what Detroit did, then you could definitely have a situation in which the property, the values of the property just plummet to the point where nobody wants to own any of the housing anywhere in the area. I think that that's probably the main thing to be concerned about. And again, it's one, like, I'm not really worried about that in the current situation. Like, the main employment in this area is the shipyard for Bremerton, and then Seattle is a major economic hub that doesn't show any significant signs of slowing down or stopping. And so I don't have a significant concern that housing would become devalued in this area as a consequence of any, like, there might be some significant economic disturbance or unrest or something, but I don't see it being to a degree that it would completely invalidate my investment up until now. And especially not when you factor in the fact that the amount that I owe, or the value of what I owe on a mortgage, decreases over time as inflation has its effects. Oh, come on, it was dispersing. I call BS on you, game. Great. And then the last one, and then I'll open it up. So my main source of heat is a heat pump on my house. And in order for that heat pump to continue working, I'm trusting that the electricity will continue functioning. I'm trusting that my electricity won't be cut off. I'm trusting that the heat pump won't malfunction or be damaged by somebody. Yes. Do you not have a bed to lie on to bother me from? I'll give you a little pet. And so what I'm trying to do in order to mitigate the heat risk is I've done a fair bit of gathering for firewood, and I have a fireplace that I can heat from in an emergency, but it's pretty grossly inefficient, and I can't really cook using it either. because that's the other thing too, is like I am pretty dependent on electricity in order for me to be able to prepare most of the food that I have stores of. And so in order for me to kind of hedge against that, I need to have something that I can have a wood stove with a cooking surface on top of it. You're being very inconvenient for me to play games with, because I can't... If I have one hand petting you, I can't use that hand on the controller, and I kind of need two hands. But you don't care, do you? No, Daddy, I just want attention. I just want you to pet me. Okay. And I know that all that's... it's kind of a long-winded explanation to go through all that. But there's two main points that I kind of wanted to emphasize, and I wanted to go through by example. And one is that there's a lot of implicit trust that we have in things continuing to work the way that we expect them to. And that even if you do choose to exclusively rely on that trust, like even if I say, you know what, I'm comfortable relying on the grocery store to continue getting food. I'm comfortable relying on the city to continue giving me water. I'm comfortable relying on the existing economic and physical structures to let me continue owning my house. I'm content with the electricity and maintenance people to allow me to continue using a heat pump as my sole source of heat. If you're fine with all of those things, then that's okay, but you should understand what your priors are. You should understand what are the risks that you are running with that, and then also understanding if conditions change, how is that going to play out? And the second thing is that physical sovereignty has a cost. And a lot of the ways of achieving sovereignty physically can be achieved with... You are such a pest. Can be achieved with relatively inexpensive measures. But they're still going to cost you something, and a lot of the times it will require the use of your time. It'll require you to learn new skills. For instance, if you want to be doing the maintenance on your own vehicle, that's a pretty heavy time investment and knowledge investment of going through and learning that kind of stuff. But I think it's worthwhile. And that's about all I have to say about physical sovereignty, unless anybody else has something else they want to say in the chat. And I'm going to try, so I'm going to hop in Discord if anybody wants to come on and join me. And then, oh, Ron's already in there. Okay. We'll see if Ron wants to talk about mental sovereignty. Howdy, Ron. Can you hear me okay?
Howdy. How's it going?
Not too bad. Let me stream Hollow Knight. I don't know what your internet situation is, but I figure I can at least offer that to you.
Nice. I'm just getting home from a worship gig. And it was quite enjoyable, and then I saw you. I tuned in just when you were dying. I was very happy. I was like, oh, not again.
Perfect
I'm like, oh, yes. Yeah, I was pretty happy. So what's this with you doomsday prepping?
It's kind of doomsday prepping, but more of it is just trying to make myself aware and then make others aware of, like, hey, like, you might not be thinking about this, but these are the assumptions that you are implicitly relying on for things to continue working. And I'm not trying to say that everybody needs to go out and just be crazy and get, like, 5 years supply of food. But just be aware of the fact that you are dependent on the grocery store for your food, that you're dependent on the city for your water, that you're dependent on the whatever your heat source is for your heat, that you're dependent on other systems continuing to function in order for you to be allowed to stay in your house. And that for the most part, those are going to continue being the case. Like, there's not going to be that many... I don't see anything like that changing to such a degree that you're going to get kicked out of your house, or you're going to freeze to death, or you're not going to be able to feed yourself or your family, or you're going to not have access to water. I don't see any of those happening in the near future. The concern that I have is that when you have something like the trucker protest in Canada, that you have a lot of people who don't understand the interlocking systems that they're participating in, and they get caught with their pants down when they try to say no to governmental or other authority, and then that governmental authority says, okay, you want to play games, then you don't get to use the bank.
Right. Yeah, that's Jordan Hall. I think. Okay, so you got two extremes. You have Trudeau. You have Trudeau's. What is it? Would be Trudeau syndrome or tyrannical Trudeau syndrome, which is that's a thing. And then you have a black swan event.
Yep.
Like Jordan Hall and everybody out east had to deal with.
Yep.
What? Yes. I think what COVID taught me was many things, but if you have a supply of dried goods or canned goods that can help you last, a long run would be 3 months.
Yep.
You know, if you could survive 3 months, 120 days, you're gonna. I think you'd be okay. I have a buddy who's in border of Mexico. They had 8 months of dry goods stored up for their family and their ranch hands and everybody, and they survived. But they did say, I think people starved to death down there.
Jiminy crickets.
You know, it was bad. I think. So I do appreciate what you're saying, and I think it's reasonable. I mean, at least if you have 3 weeks, you know, just let's be realistic. Power goes out, ice storm, flood.
I mean, and that's kind of echoed even by, like, what's it, FEMA's statements on emergency preparedness. Like, for all the good that they do in actual emergencies, they do actually have some pretty good guidelines on how to try and have yourself be prepared in the event of some sort of a catastrophic emergency.
I think water would be your biggest surprise that you'd have to, like drinking water. But, you know, just having food on hand, it's, when it goes away, that's that's just scary. Well, you know, I don't.
And so many people don't know what they're like when they're hungry because they've never had to be hungry before. And so it's really easy to believe that, oh, it'll just be like I normally am, but I'll just get a little bit hungry and I'll just be able to deal with that. And they don't understand the significant psychological changes that are going to occur as a consequence of you are starving. Your body is going to react.
Yeah.
Maybe
and then you have the wingnut syndrome, where someone's hungry for the first time, and God forbid they have a gun. But that's, I think this is what surprised me. Jordan Hall said when he went through his experience, it was really people come together, as long as they're not being separated on purpose. They come together, and it's usually the churches that shine. So
I believe that. Well,
it was.
So there. Oh, let me read Mills' comment, and then I have a quick story. And I think that you're right, Mills. That you're not. It's not that you're trying to aim for pure sovereignty, because, like I was saying, sovereignty is somewhat dependent on other sovereign entities recognizing your sovereignty. The whole way that works out. Oh, that's why I don't have a map of the area. You need to have responsibility, and that responsibility then plays into sovereignty. I think that is the right way of looking at it. And then President Foxman, yes, I think that is part of one of the important aspects of fasting. Is it is incredibly important for you to know what you are like when you are hungry.
Right.
And for you to have a regular reminder of that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when I was a wee lad, and I was living in Mississippi at the time, there was a really bad windstorm, and it was to the extent that it knocked out power for pretty much everybody, and it the level of catastrophe was such that it took several weeks for things to come back online. And
Okay.
we had, like, it wasn't, I think it was in springtime when it was already warm enough, so heat wasn't super big of a concern. And my dad had a gas grill in the backyard, so we cooked everything that we could when the fridge, or my parents cooked everything that they could when the fridge went out, and then we had a big old feast, and then we had some leftovers, and then we had the ability to cook more stuff that was less perishable over time. And we were fine, and we were able to not just take care of ourselves, or my parents were not just able to take care of themselves and us kids, but also we had a pair of more elderly neighbors that didn't really have the ability to take care of themselves. They didn't have a gas grill. They didn't have that infrastructure in their house to be able to take care of themselves. And so we were able to not just take care of ourselves, but take care of them too.
That's pretty cool. I think fear is the biggest thing, or not the biggest thing. It's like if you can fight the fear and not let that take over. Like when COVID hit.
Yep.
That was such a fear bomb.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to boast, but I called it. I'm like, wait a second, there's a game getting played here.
Yep.
And if you have and people weren't even hungry then. So, but anyhow, I'm kind of sidetracking. So to be prepared, if you had 3 weeks of food, maybe even water, I don't know how much water that would take volume-wise. I don't know how long water lasts in storage.
It lasts.
There's got to be a way.
It lasts pretty much indefinitely as long as you put it in a container that's suited for it.
Kind of like if you had like the spring water bottles that are.
Yep.
Really? I didn't know. I know during World War II they had cans of water that lasted. And so. All right, well, 3 weeks. That's actually, I think that's probably doable.
Yep.
If you were a prepper, I think anybody could probably do 3 weeks if they wanted.
Well, and the thing
So
that I think...
what's bringing?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just one. Go ahead with your thought. I'm just rambling.
I was going to say, I think the thing that a lot of preppers don't account for correctly is that they have this weird assumption that, like, the world's going to end and then they are just going to be by themselves and they just have to have all the supplies that they need to sustain themselves indefinitely. And the reality is that the world is a lot more complex of a place than that, and there's going to be other things that start to come into play and come into effect well before the 5-year mark of how, like, what your food supply is.
What do you mean?
Well,
What are you
just that-
thinking?
Okay, I have a very long supply of food, right? Within
Yeah.
the first year or two, I need to, in order for me to not have to worry anymore, I need to have somehow secured, like, say there's some catastrophic event where you get a geographical separation of a whole bunch of different communities in the world, and that there's no easy, meaningful way to transit or transport things between them. You're going to need to create a situation where you can... that was stupid. Where you can start creating your own food, at least within that local community, within the first few years, or things are going to start getting real weird with the rest of the people?
I just had a very dark thought.
What's that?
You won't have to worry about that because some sort of government will develop a
Yep.
brutality, I think, or like warlords. You know, something, you're not going to have to wait more than a year. Within a year, somebody's going to be finding a way to be in control.
Yep. And I think, thankfully,
Okay.
that if you really took all of the constraints off, that what would end up happening, because like a lot of good people are restraining themselves because they want to allow for the legitimate government to rule, because they see that as a much better arrangement than them trying to usurp that legitimate government.
Right.
What I see happening is that if there's something that ends up really disrupting that legitimate government, that you'll end up having a situation where those good people will use force to reestablish a similar form of legitimate government.
You're talking civil war, and I'm not saying
Not so
like
much,
a political
actually.
civil war. Well,
So-
let me, because
Go ahead. Yep.
I don't want to. Let me flush this out.
Yep.
Because let's say you have a catastrophic weather event
Yep.
that takes out power. You know, like again in the East Coast when
Let's do one more.
Um,
Let's say that there is some significant geologic event that completely destroys miles and miles of interstate that connects across the Rocky Mountains.
okay,
And
all right.
completely destroys or destabilizes deep water ports to such an extent that you cannot reliably use them for logistics purposes anymore, or at least not for a significant period of time and not without a significant revamp of infrastructure.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right, fine. So earthquake, boom. All right, then what? What are we looking at? Because I think the infrastructure will get built a lot faster than you think.
I think so too. But what's the time frame?
I think the East Coast though is the best example. It was a bunch of hillbilly rednecks, and I shouldn't actually. I don't want to be demeaning. It was working. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's easy, but here's the thing: it's working folks who know how to move dirt.
Yep.
And you know, I know so many brilliant blue collar people. I mean, really brilliant. And when things go bad, they're like, okay, load up the truck, boys. Let's do this. And if the government won't do it, they will.
Yep.
So
The danger
I
is.
come back.
Oh, I was going to say the danger is that the government will sometimes interfere with that, where, and I think that's the issue in North Carolina, is that they're trying to say, oh no, like if you're going to like rebuild these houses or fix these houses, that we need to come in and do inspections on them, but we're so backlogged with the inspections that we can't come out for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's like, no guys, like you're going to let people go back in their homes once they're fixed. Like this is ridiculous.
Right. I think, okay, so, but okay, then if I give you the Black Swan event, you give me not so much anarchy, but like what happened in the East Coast. Like, okay, hi government, listen, really liked what you did in the past, but really not working now. Why don't you come back in a couple months when we have the running water? Because what it took East Coast, I think it was 3 weeks. They had, so I think the bigger the the bigger the Black Swan, I think the more the government should and would get involved. I think they would enact like the military, you know, like
National Guard.
so. Yeah. So wouldn't that just change everything?
Potentially, but it depends. Are they actually acting in the best interests of the populace? Like with the North Carolina events, there were some real questions about whether FEMA was actually.
No. Oh, no. I'm not talking FEMA. I'm talking about National Guard.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Okay.
what if what happens? So, like, one of the reasons that Hurricane Katrina was so bad was because the Louisiana National Guard was deployed to Iraq at the time of Hurricane Katrina, and so they couldn't
Okay.
be used. So, like, what happens if it's like, because that's the thing with the Black Swan event, is it's not just about a single catastrophic event. Generally, it's usually a confluence of a whole bunch of different things that all together factor
Yeah.
into a problem.
Right.
It's like, it's not just
What's
this thing
happened-
goes wrong, but this thing, that thing, and the other thing all go wrong at once.
Okay, so what are people doing right that's proven itself to be beneficial in just about any Black Swan event? Like
I think
chainsaws.
Well,
Mhm.
there
Or
you
what-
go. What tools do people have, and then what motivations do they have? I think that you hit on it really well earlier by saying that one of the most outstanding groups of people when you have something like that is the church folks.
Yeah. I mean, just in my church alone, I mean, if a tornado hits next to the Amish, they're next. Like the Amish are always there first.
Yep.
And then, yeah, that's about it. It's like you just get it seems like it is the church community. I think, well, I hope I'm wrong. I think that if it was really bad, the government would have to step in. But then again, you give me pause because Katrina.
Yep.
And then, is it called the Black Hills, or out in the East Coast where it's Black Mountain? Black
I'm not
Mountain.
sure.
Well, because that's where I remember it, because that's where Billy Graham was at, and that's Billy Graham country. And I just remember it reminded me of Black Rock, but I'm like, what? No, Black Mountain. Okay, anyhow.
That's a financial thing.
Yeah. So I guess what you do is you prep for whatever you know, and run your mind in different scenarios. And maybe it's not so much being ready with the proper list, but maybe it's a mindset of surviving, adapting, and overcoming.
Yep.
I think that's actually healthier too, because then you're not hoarding eggs or cans of beans.
Yeah.
You're figuring out, okay, if a power line falls, how do we fix it or avoid it? Or if the water does go out, how deep do I have to dig before I can dig my own well?
Yep.
But to be honest with you, if society collapses like that, I don't
think
know
it
how
will
long
necessarily. Like that's, or at least that's my
Okay.
hope. Is like how do we
Yeah.
approach things in such a way that even if society goes towards collapse, that you
Yeah.
can keep it from doing so.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I think of Africa as a bad scenario. It's usually bad government that causes famine, from what I'm understanding.
Yep. Especially if you look at China recently, and by recently I mean within the past several decades, not so well,
Oh, okay.
maybe a little bit
Okay,
recently,
gotcha.
but
Right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I
historically
mean-
speaking.
I mean, Russia killed people
Yep.
with famine. And then you had the potato famine
Yep.
in Ireland. So that's more Black Swan.
That was Black Swan coupled with government policy.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yep, the Brits were
I did-
not so kind to the Irish.
Okay, so there we go. So it goes back to government then. So my question is, So you really don't need to store food. You just need to fix government for 200.
Yes and no. Like, okay, so the thing that you have to keep in mind, and this is like a perpetual thing that I feel like I have to keep talking about whenever it comes up. Governments are composed of people.
Yeah.
And what you have to understand when you're talking about, oh, like, just fix government is like, okay, who are the people who are responsible for making the decisions that you disagree with, and what are the incentive structures and the motivations of the people who are making those decisions? And you have to make an account of those things, because it's like one of the things that always kind of annoys me that people will rag on is like, we need term limits for Congress people. And like, yes, maybe that would help address the problem, but the reality is that it's not just the specific individuals that are getting into those positions of authority that are then misusing and abusing their power. The deeper issue is that there are structures that are incentivizing people to behave in those ways. And now, even if you change the people, even if you change who it is that's in those positions of power and authority, and you try and cycle through them more quickly so that they can't get entrenched, the reality is that they're not even really the ones who are making a lot of the decisions in Washington right now. It's unelected bureaucrats, it's lobbyists, it's a whole bunch of other people who are already staying there, and it's not like you can enact term limits on them because they aren't even elected officials. Not to mention the fact that you're asking the people who are the ones who are responsible for, like, you're asking the Congress people to be the ones to enact the law that institutes term limits for the Congress people. They're not necessarily going to have an incentive to actually change the rules against their own favor unless there's something else that they can have traded for in compensation.
Right. All right.
So it's like, how would, like, even
myself-
if you wanted to put term limits in place, what's the mechanism by which you would try and institute that would actually have a meaningful chance of succeeding? Because trying to get Congress people to actually vote on that is a losing battle to begin with.
No, that's never going to happen.
No.
That's the anti-Black Swan. That's just never going to happen. That
The
thing
pale
is-
white swan, the thing that will never happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just keep dreaming, bud. I think there's a movie made in the 40s, like Mr. Deeds Goes to Washington.
Oh,
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, what's it called? My dad has recommended it to me before, and I can't remember the title.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I think.
Yeah, man. Okay, that's it. It's something like that. Yeah. Oh, and he gets, he's just the country bumpkin. I'm gonna go to Washington and be a good guy.
Yep.
And, it's just,
But
it's
he tries.
I don't know if. Oh yeah, but I mean, he gets. It's just, they really do a good job at it. He just gets destroyed.
Yep.
So, really what we're dealing with is the fallen nature that can't be redeemed, and we're doomed.
Are we doomed, though?
Yeah. Well, I just had to do Black Veil for a minute.
Doomed!
Doomed, and we're doomed. Okay. All right, that's a wrap, people. Hey, beautiful working with you.
Just
Gotta
sit
go to
it
my
out, wait
bunker.
for Jesus to come
exactly.
again, and yeah, have a good time.
Oh, and I think, I think what happens, as much as people get hungry, and now I guess what I have seen is it's people get kind as well. It's not, I hope I'm not being Pollyannish, but I've seen kindness. I've seen people give.
I think that's the thing to
Espe-
take away from a lot of those experiences. It's not that those events bring out the worst in people per se. It's that they're very polarizing.
Okay.
they bring out the best in the best, and they bring out the worst in the worst.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. I think if you have a large enough group of good people, it's not so much you keep the evil at bay, is that you give the fearful hope.
Yep.
And you calm them down.
Yep.
And once you don't feel alone, abandoned, and hopeless, then you're willing to hold on. And so what is bringing on this doomsday black swan prepping?
I mean, this is something that is not like constantly on my mind, but it's definitely. I talked about a bunch of the stuff that I am actively doing for myself to try and oh gosh, don't die. To try and mitigate some of the things that I'm concerned about. It's not like this is like a sudden brought it on. And actually, the thing that really made me think about this, why I wanted to talk about the cost of sovereignty. The boss that we're going to fight today is called the Mantis Lords. And out of all of the bugs in Hallownest, the Mantis colony is the only one that's able to resist the fungal infection. And so that's kind of like one of the things that I am trying to do is tie the topic that I'm talking about somehow into the gameplay that I'm engaging with, because I do want to show how games have this capacity to really maybe not actively teach, but provide a groundwork or a framework on which to learn from, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And this is not it sounds funny, but you sound like Jonathan Pajot at that moment.
How's that?
It's interpreting like a moving symbology.
Okay.
Is that, wait, am I botching words?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you're looking at games symbolically and also mythologically and storytelling.
Yep.
So really it's going to be, in the best moment, the hero's journey into the underworld.
Funny you should say that. Oh, do we have a...
I'm hanging out in the background.
Ah, Noah's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good to have you, man.
El Presidente.
Foxuman.
Indeed,
So-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I know what's happening. What you thinking? Chime in.
In the background, I'm putting together a Raspberry Pi.
Ooh.
Does Ron know
All
what a
right,
Raspberry Pi is?
Wait, don't tell me, don't, what?
It's not an
So,
actual
should I be
pie.
afraid?
It's not a pie.
Oh.
It's Raspberry Pi. Pie.
What?
It's it's a little
Pi?
computer.
Oh, okay, because I was like, wait a second, I was catching it. So you're building, what is the Raspberry? Is that an ancient technology that you're resurrecting?
No, this is like a newer thing. But it's just like a mini computer that you can do a lot of things with, and then there's some exposed pins on it, so you can hook up whatever hardware you want to. So I bought some servos, and I'm gonna try to make a little project out of it. Then,
Cool.
Do some stuff with it.
Can you make a system? I'll pay money. I would like to have a system that will track flies. I don't have a lot in my house ever, but I want something that will shoot a laser at them. And I would like to have like a laser fly killer.
Yeah, Ron, are you familiar with Michael Reeves? Is he guy on YouTube? That's
Okay.
very much up his alley. His first video he ever made was trying to make a robot that will make me go blind, I think. And he made this vision tracking system that would point a laser pointer at his eyes, no matter where he was.
Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. I actually had a thought about that as a weapon, and I'm like, God, I don't know when it makes that.
He has a really fun one where he basically hooked up a bunch of drones and made a targeting system so that they would fly in formation at whatever like he pointed it at. And so he set it up against himself and just almost like killed himself just having drones
sweet.
flying at him at full speed.
Great. And this is on YouTube. Okay. Way to go, kids.
It's
Okay.
amazing. It's some good content.
Oh, wait. Actually, I need to look that up. What's his name?
Michael Reeves.
Crazy Hawaiian boy.
R-E-E.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Now, see, if you guys would have told me I could have made stuff like this when I was in school, I would have studied more.
I mean, same. I feel the same way. I feel like the applied elements of like education are very much undersold or maybe underexplored.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, and maybe it's better I didn't learn because I got a feeling I would have had like evil overlord tendencies. Just being honest, I'm like, I'd be like Cartman with a bad attitude. Except I would have had lasers. That would have been awesome.
Who doesn't like lasers?
I know, really. And why didn't people shoot the drones down with lasers or whatever? I mean, shotguns are fun, but they have limited reach.
Oh, what's the name of the
Anyhow,
channel? It's not Technology Connections, but there's another Science-y channel that recently posted a video about using microwaves to take out drones. I still have to watch it.
Oh.
I've been hearing that. Okay, I think I applaud the technology, but I like a net cannon where you could shoot and actually capture the drone and or what is a bolo? I think it's like a yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that would have been fun.
Well, and if you go on the rabbit hole of like gun YouTube, they have all the creative stuff people have put into a shotgun, including bolos.
Okay, sure.
But I don't even think that's a new to them. I think that's like a product on the market actually. But
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I like the non-lethal because let's say it's an aircraft or something. You don't want to shoot anything down that's good, but
Wasn't
like
there some
having-
guy who recently got in trouble for shooting down a Walmart drone or something?
oh really?
Yeah. I think that was in Washington, but I'm not sure.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm waiting for someone to get killed by one. I mean, I'm not being a guy. I hope it doesn't happen, but something's going to happen to somebody. It's going to drop out of the sky or someone's going to get... It's almost like a self-driving car. One of them is going to go rogue.
Yep.
And then who do you incarcerate?
Well, and it's a lot more
yeah.
dangerous when you start having instances where people are... Oh gosh, I need to get up from that corner. Like if you are actively weaponizing drones like what we've been seeing out of the Ukraine conflict, and then people
Right.
are then taking that and then bringing that into a civilian context, it's like, that's not great.
Well, okay, I know this is an open channel, but the government would be foolish to think someone's not thinking that. I mean, it's
Correct.
just, I'm sorry. And I don't know what technology is available to instantaneously shut down a drone other than a shotgun. But even that's limited because some drones can fly. Even store-bought ones are pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just, you know, what'd be fun is having attack drones. You know, you have a problem drone in the neighborhood. You have your little drone that maybe has a trail of flypaper behind it, and you have your attack drone fly past the invader. The flypaper gets caught in the rotors and it drops. You know, there's no shooting, but there is a pretty quick, reasonable way to bring them down.
I think what we're going to find is that the best way of handling that issue, is actually just training birds. Like training
Hawks?
eagles or hawks or something.
Take a lot of them though, because there's too many. There's bazillions. The drones are like flies.
They
know,
can be.
Yeah.
And it gets definitely more expensive. My goodness, time-wise and train. This is not going to end well, is it? Time-wise and training-wise to bring a bird up to a certain standard versus a drone, but it's really difficult for the government to replace soldiers because even with as expensive as it is to raise, feed, train, etc. a soldier, it's still way less expensive to do that. And
The best bang for your buck.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's really hard to do better than that even with autonomous weapon systems. Like there was some defense contractor that was trying to. I'm gonna have to go sit on the bench. Trying to test and see if their autonomous weapon system would be in any way effective. But what they found, or they pitted the autonomous weapon system. I think they put like a paintball gun on it or something, and then they gave it to, or they had a bunch of Marines try and see if they could defeat it. And they literally did the Solid Snake thing of putting a cardboard box over themselves, and that was able to defeat this autonomous weapon system.
Oh wow, I love that.
So it's not just about it's also like people can get very creative. I should really heal so I don't lose all that geo.
So Noah, what are you building with your servos, or what do you want to build?
I thought it might be fun to try to make like Af has been talking a little bit about the idea of like a VTuber thing.
A what?
A VTuber. Are you familiar with this concept? People will stream and they'll have like a little cartoon or like animated profile in the corner that reacts the way that you are reacting.
Oh, okay.
And my thought was it would be kind of fun to have one that is basically a stuffed animal that's controlled by servos that will like move with the amplitude of the voice or whatever.
Okay.
So I thought that might be fun. That might be a little bit more involved than I realized it's going to be, or it could be a lot easier. I'm not sure, but I thought it might be fun, and then it just gives me an excuse to get a Raspberry Pi and be able to have some stuff I can play around with.
Right.
It's kind of the end of programming that I'm not super familiar with, which is like the applied. I haven't done it really since high school, like with robotics and stuff.
So, okay, now, Afrael, I don't mean to bum you out, but I need to white pill for a moment.
Okay.
So, let's say the world doesn't quite explode, but I do applaud your prepping. Don't get me wrong. What good will bots do? And, I mean, the stuff's here to stay, and it's going to do nothing but grow.
Yeah.
It's like TV. Like at its worst, TV is a soap opera. At its best, it's something like the hooligans at, that we are, that use the technology to build as opposed to just being a vegetative state. So instead of the T-800 coming knocking down the door, what do you guys see that's like not just unreasonable white pill, but something possibly good? Like, okay, self-driving cars, if they don't go rogue, are an interesting development. What else do you think what is in a pipeline that you think is interesting and good?
You want to go first, Noah?
What's down the pipeline that's interesting and good in the world?
Yep. As far as technology goes.
Yeah, that's really that's on the table. That's either being thought of or is actually being created.
Yeah, again, like I'm not super knowledgeable on what's real and what isn't sometimes. Because you just hear stuff. One thing I've heard rumors about, I don't know how successful this has been, but there's been talk about potentially creating an enzyme or like microorganism, I'm not sure what it is actually, that can eat plastics.
Huh.
So a lot of the pollutants that are in our environment potentially could be eaten through and basically disposed of into more inert substances that can be reabsorbed into the environment.
Okay, so then I have to ask, like, what happens to the enzyme when it is done eating, and then can it mutate?
Oh, if it's an enzyme, it can't mutate. It's like it'd be the same thing as like a protein or something.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. If it was a microorganism, then I think that would be more possible, because then there is reproduction. Go ahead.
What is? It reminds me of the vaccine that everybody had. It's like, oh, it's just localized, and then it's just a cluster. If you introduce this enzyme on a global scale, what could be the repercussions?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't, and I do want to white pill this because I do applaud getting rid of the plastic. It's just, anytime I hear introducing a novel technology on a global scale, I'm like, have you guys thought this one out? But all right, so the plastic eating monster, that doesn't sound all bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, if it, again, like you were saying, like if it's used correctly, if it, and that's the thing with technology, right? Anything that's worthwhile is going to be dangerous because technology is about harnessing some sort of power. It's about using it correctly, right? So you're never going to have a good technology because that'd be like saying like a good hammer or a good screwdriver.
Okay.
Well, a good screwdriver is one that can screw drive. It's not a moral statement.
Right. Okay. Then I need to look at. Okay. Go ahead, please.
So yeah. So I think in that way, right? Like any technology has the potential of being used for good. And so in that way, like when we see all these kind of stories about a scary technology, yes, but I believe that for the most part, like anything can be used for good ultimately. Now, if it was like a chainsaw powered by babies or something, right? Like that's not. And if that's the only fuel source or something, like, yeah, no, probably that's a morally evil piece of technology, but maybe there's something underlying that would, could be redeemed, maybe.
The baby chainsaw can be redeemed, or
the technology used to make that might be able to be redeemed, and that's about.
Oh my god!
That's about it.
God, don't leave that in my mind, Noah. Please, that's just
baby chainsaw.
Hey,
well,
they're running on hamster wheels, okay? It's
right. That's right.
The babies are running on.
Hamster wheels to power your chainsaw. All right, so that's white. So, okay, all right. So oh gosh, I'm gonna throw a. All right, I'm just gonna say it. When I was a kid, they had the hole in the ozone, and they were concerned with global cooling, and they legalized abortion because of they thought there was going to be a population explosion. Like I think, man, I hope I don't offend people. I think the whole climate change thing, and I'm not saying don't be concerned, but I feel like it's being used again. And
Hi, YouTube card.
What's that?
I said hi, YouTube card.
It's back.
Oh, hi, YouTube card. Right. Gotcha. Sorry.
That's okay.
I wonder what technology is out there. Because I think people are brilliant if they really want to be. That could scrub the atmosphere without making it do a weird pendulum swing to being, deficient.
Honestly, I don't think trees have it covered. Like the bigger issue, like if you really wanted to, make an impact on the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know what the exact balance is, and I'm guessing it's shifted since. This is one of the things that I will rant about sometimes. Rubisco is a dumb protein. So the main protein responsible for photosynthesis is called rubisco. I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like something by. I'm not even gonna try. But the abbreviation for it is rubisco. And most proteins are enzymatic in their reaction rate, which means that they will preferentially bind with the things that they are reacting with, and so the rate of reaction is really just dependent on the concentration of whatever it is that's reacting, or the concentration of the enzyme, not on the concentration of whatever it is that the enzyme's reacting with. Rubisco is not that way. Rubisco is highly dependent on the concentration of carbon dioxide in its presence in order for it to do its job. And so what that means is that the rate of carbon dioxide absorption through photosynthesis is significantly greater if you start increasing the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And you can see this because plants get a lot greener in greenhouses and whatnot that will intentionally increase the concentration of carbon dioxide in that localized atmosphere. And the reason for that is because the rate of photosynthesis, and so the amount of chlorophyll that the plant is producing in order to induce photosynthesis is going to increase if you have an increased concentration of carbon dioxide. So that's the case for land plants. For water plants and for plankton, the main limiting factor for them is iron. The concentration of iron in the water and then its use in other life processes is the main constraining factor for phytoplankton growth in the oceans. And so there have been experiments done where they actually seeded iron into the oceans in order to locally increase plankton production just to see what would happen, because there's the potential that you have a massive algae bloom and then die off, and then that causes other ecological problems, and so it's not necessarily a long-term solution, but they just wanted to see, like, hey, what happens when you do this, and lo and behold, you seed iron into the ocean, and there's a massive algae bloom there because that's the main limiting factor keeping the algae from continuing to, or the phytoplankton from continuing to reproduce.
So, and this relates to the carbon problem in the atmosphere, because it sounded like you were trying to go for a carbon cure.
Right. I should have finished with that. Of terrestrial plants is available water. And so if you can improve the water availability, then that means that and not just in a way like you're just watering fields of crops, but you can really improve growths of trees, and try and like move water around in such a way. Like one of the ideas that I've had is trying to take water out of rivers, and not like in significant quantities to the point where it would start affecting flow rates on a significant scale, but just like you take out a very small quantity of that water and then you push it up a hill with some very low energy pump, and you let that water then trickle back down that hill, and then you basically start creating these artificial streams and also artificial aquifers as a consequence of just gently pushing a small fraction of the water that's available back up the hill. And that would, like, the main thing that, like, I saw the banks of Lake Mead by the Hoover Dam, and it's like, there is all this water here, and there is absolutely no vegetation around it. And part of that is just because of the fact that it's a desert, and so it's hot, and so it's hard for plants to grow in that environment. But if you just spent a tiny bit of energy, or even if you were, like, and it might be more of an infrastructure cost than an energy cost, but I shouldn't have tried to heal there. Like to set up the pumps in such a way where you could start to do that. And it might also be like maintenance costs or personnel costs, but the idea being that you could potentially give at least some level of water supply to the area surrounding the lake.
Right. I think Israel actually did that in large part of the deserts. They just kind of started watering as best they could where they could and changed the whole environment. So what I'm hearing you say is if we want to deal with the carbon problem in the world, maybe we should start planting more plants?
Well, you don't even need to plant more plants. The birds and the bees will actually take care of that in a very real sense. Like, birds plant things all the time. You just have to let them do their thing, and then they'll be fine. Oh, gosh darn it. The bigger issue is that humans have the ability to affect on a civil engineering level is changing the water availability. Ow! Don't die. I'm not doing a very good job of that.
Oh, I'm not watching. I should be If you're gonna die, you should be polite enough to be there.
No, you're fine. Oh, come on, that should not have hit me.
Oh.
That wasn't supposed to hit me. Okay, well, I can respond to chat for a little bit. Yes, Cassandra, we should put rum in the water like pirates. Grog, grog, grog. I think that there were suicide pigeons in World War II slack. Please do not become a Catgirl VNA tuber. Baby Chainsaw Man sounds like a very frightening concept. Grizz, I forgot the plant villain from Darkwing Duck preventing his rain is why we fight carbons. And then, yeah, hydroelectric dam reservoirs or batteries. That is part of what it would be. It wouldn't be... Oh no, Grizz, that's not 1. I think that's, what, 4? Yeah, that's 4. Yeah, it's not just that it would be like a battery in the sense that you're allowing you're building up the water behind it in a reserved capacity, but it's also you're evening out the flow rate, because when you are dealing with large flows from ice melts in springtime, if you actually gosh darn it, that wasn't where I want to go. That's fine, I can make it work. You can make it so that rather than having that ice melt be a problem, you can pump more water during the worst parts of the spring melt up into those artificial aquifers, and then as a consequence even out the flow rate through the river in a much more natural way than what you like with dams. You have other issues that come along with that. I'm an ice melt in springtime. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Yeah.
Gentlemen, it has been fun, but it is 11 o'clock in my part of the world,
Yep.
and I am signing off.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, that's fun. Watching you die, blackpilling it, trying to redeem it a little bit.
Well, white pilling, like, I'm not trying to like black pill. It's more just like trying to say, hey guys, you making sure you're aware of this. Like, these are concerns that you should maybe keep an eye on. Like, that's more what the intent is. It's not meant to
Yeah.
really black pill.
No, it's not. It's actually yours
Yeah.
isn't. Yours is more like
It runs the risk of
pre-game.
it, though. It runs the risk of it.
Well, yeah, but it's not our nature. It's even when we do but when we do it, it's just for fun. It's not like, nothing too serious. But I don't know. I'd rather think about it a little bit as opposed to a lot. And that way, if it does show up, you're like, all right, what did I talk about before?
Yep.
I'll have enough Doritos and Coke for a couple weeks. That's,
Doritos and Coke.
yeah, that's what got me through college. I can do this. All right, guys, on that nutritional note, I'm out of here. I'm
Sounds
gonna
good, Rod. Thank you for coming in, and have a good night.
All right, guys.
Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
So how goes the raspberry pieing, as I apparently am about to die?
I'm missing stuff. I didn't realize I needed. So
that's rough.
it's too bad.
That's really rough. That's a lot of geo. Okay, well. Pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep going. I've played around with a Raspberry Pi a little bit before, but I didn't do much more other than just install a Linux operating system into it and then kind of call it a day from there.
Yeah. Oh. Visual Studio Code crashed unexpectedly. That's interesting.
Grizz wants to know if you're putting an AI in the Raspberry Pi.
No. Not planning on it. I don't know if it's even big enough.
Yeah, I was about to say, does it have resources enough to be able to do that?
I mean, it has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 total gigabytes of memory. But I don't know if that's big enough for that. But time to go to my cart and order some 120 piece multicolored DuPont wire 40 pin male to female 40 male to male 40 female to female breadboard jumper ribbon cables kit.
That's quite the mouthful.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh, I'm just being silly. I think it's just straight down and I just need to stop doodling around. There we go. Although I should probably... There we go. Yeah, no, Michael Reeves is definitely great.
Oh yeah. No, he's definitely inspired me to want to try to do more of that kind of stuff. I just don't yet have the proficiency.
Yep.
So I'm still working on that.
It's very complicated stuff, for sure.
That's the tough part where it's like, I'm not that old, but I see people who were younger than me when they did very significant things.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying not to be discouraged by it, but to be inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
is a whole thing.
Well, and I won't say his name here because I don't want to dox him to the internet, but my friend who you met when we were out camping, that's one of the things that he's struggled mentally with a lot too, because he has done a fair amount of like real estate stuff, and so he's doing pretty well for himself, but he looks around at other people who have done significantly more than he has by his age, and he finds it very discouraging. And so what I try and always let him know is like, you're trying to compare yourself against the best of the best. Like, if you're actually going to try and see where you're at, like, figure out what your actual elo is relative to the rest of the population, rather than trying to be so concerned about being at the very tippy top of things.
Yeah, but then if you're doing better than the people around you, then it just feels good, and then there's no motivation to actually get better, you know?
That is true. But it's more like, I'm not saying that you should try and find an excuse to just be satisfied with where you're at and not be motivated to continue progressing. But you shouldn't beat yourself up because you're not perfect.
Mm.
Gwyneth Paltrow movie about how you're worthless after 22. What the heck is that from? Or what movie is that? I know I could look it up, but I'm a little busy here.
Predisposed, maybe. Yeah, I might have to put a pause on this project until Monday, I think. Shame. I'll find something else to do.
Oh yeah, Grizz makes a good point. He misses your videos, and I definitely miss your videos too. When are you gonna start trying to do stuff again?
I have been writing lately.
Okay.
That's been what my my focus has been on. I have a draft of a story written.
Okay.
Is that how many words are we at now? I think we're at 15,000. 15,000. So my goal right now is to finish that up as like my main side projects.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm making sure I'm not unplugging anything important to things that are going on this computer. And then once I'm done with that, I can record it into an audiobook and then post it as a what's it called? Like when you like in a magazine, what would that periodically? Periodically? Yeah, that sounds right. To do that. That's my idea right now, at least.
Okay.
And then do it. Maybe try to find some creative way to combine that together.
Okay.
To have some audio and visual stuff going on in the background. But that's something that's caught my attention. And then I don't know. I might make some regular videos before then or something. I don't know, I've been super inspired. And I don't want to make things just to make things. I want to make it because I like doing it.
Yep.
And I'm trying to learn to be somewhat conscious of that and not to fall into those patterns of just doing things because they're in front of me.
Okay. Do you mind if I share a little bit about my thoughts and motivations for why I'm doing things the way that I'm doing?
Sure.
So, there's definitely been, like, a little bit of concern for me of, like, I don't want to be wasting people's time by just going on about nonsense. I don't want to be... I don't want to pull up a stream just because I feel obligated to, because I have been.
Hmm.
But what I've been finding is that if I look for it, I can usually find stuff to talk about. And part of the motivation that I have for doing the streams is not just like me sharing different ideas with people, but also trying to help create a sort of space. And it's a very different space than like Grizz's streams, for instance. But that a really important part about creating space is that, and this is something that Nate said that I don't know if I'd heard it before, but he's absolutely right. If you can create a place that is the same time and the same place consistently over time, then that's how you get people to kind of come together and form community. And I'm not saying that like I feel a want or a need to create my own community in like a content creator sense, but I do want to contribute in my own way towards sort of the TLC community by having a place to kind of share some of the things that I think about on a regular basis, because I don't hear most people talking about them, and also to have a more gamer-friendly space for corner folks.
Yeah.
Like, there's just not... Like, it's a lot of older folks who don't have a lot of familiarity or context with games of, like, why they've had such a positive impact on the lives of a lot of younger people. And growing up, I had a lot of challenge with my dad in particular, where he saw games as nothing more than a waste of time. And so, both providing a space for people who don't see that, who see games as valuable, and then also creating that space in a way that the folks who might have that more negative perspective on games can come and see why we think that they are such a positive influence. So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think it's good. I think there was a while where I was trying something similar. And it just didn't feel like... I don't know, it didn't feel... It didn't feel like it was working. And I don't know. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that almost too, right? Like, I think there's a certain level of like, if one of my motivations is for the effect on other people and I'm not seeing that work, then that reason or that motivation is not present anymore.
I don't know about that.
And so...
But go on. Sorry, I didn't even know.
Well, yeah, no, you kind of have to push through. Like, you either have to push through it, and you have to keep going further, or you have to kind of reevaluate and say, well, like, is that still a reason to keep doing that thing? At least in my mind, that's what makes sense of it. And so, I think I reached the point where I was realizing that, I don't know, that I want to make things that I would want to see, and that's to start somewhere. And there's just been a lot of thinking and processing for the last couple months.
That's true. Well, I'm not trying to pressure you into pulling something out of your hat, pulling a rabbit out of your hat before you're ready. Like, that's not... So one of the really good conversations that I've had was on an ElseNet meeting, talking with somebody who had tried to... I didn't need to heal his voice there. Had tried 3 times to start estuaries in his area, and each of those 3 times they had kind of petered out, and he was about to start trying to create another estuary again, and he was kind of nervous about trying to do that. Like, if I've already failed at it these times, like, why am I expecting a different result this time? And the thoughts that I had for him were one, I don't think that you necessarily failed. Like, yes, the estuaries that you were trying to create didn't last. That's factual, like, you're not gonna get away from that. But the question is, did the estuaries give productive help to people in the time that they were present? And did you learn enough from those experiences to potentially be more ready to start an estuary in the future? Like, do you think that you are more likely to succeed this time because of those experiences? And if so, then is it really a failure, or was it a learning experience? And that's kind of like, I think that people are too keen to look at setbacks or not. Like, one of the things that always gets brought up is this idea of like SMART goals, where you have something that's specific, measurable, relevant, and time bound. I can't remember the off the top of my head. Like, you have this idea that if you don't, bless. You can't type 7 in the chat until I've already died, Grizz. It's not fair. But like with this, right? Like, I mean, it's why I'm playing games. It's why I'm trying to talk about them and show like why it's relevant. Is like, just because I am dying to Mantis Lords over and over and over again, doesn't mean that yes, I'm failing in the context of I'm not successfully beating the boss that I'm trying to beat, but I am gaining experience. I am gaining that muscle memory, that opportunity to see the attack patterns and like practice my responses to them. And the reality is, I'm not trying to, like, it would be nice if I could beat them on the first try. That'd be cool. But I'm not, it's not something that is tied up in my self-identity that I have to win on the first attempt. And I think that that's something that a lot of people, in large part because of how like so many things are taught or reinforced, is like, no, if I don't succeed on the first try, then I failed at it and I can never try again because I already failed at it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there also is another element of there where it's like, it's not on the first try, right? Like your friend, you were saying, like, has tried 3 times.
Yep.
Because it's easy to say on the first try, right?
Yep.
But after 3 times, it's a little bit harder. And it's not any less wrong, right? But it's still like being able to say that.
Well, the main thing that you have to start taking into account, and you really should do it from the first failure too, is this idea of, well, okay, why did I fail? What environmental factors do I think contributed to it, or what personal failings did I have that caused it to fail? And really try to not just identify those, but then figure out how am I going to change my behavior and my approach for the future times that I'm going to do this, so that way I'm not just failing the same way over and over again stupidly. And that's another thing I feel like people have a really hard time with, is how do you, especially because it's like, how do you see something that you don't see? How do you learn to watch yourself for patterns of behavior that you aren't necessarily even aware are there in the first place? And I'll just plug.
You write them.
He hasn't put content out in a long time, but there's a League of Legends coach that I learned a lot about that from, named Mark Neese, and he was really good at helping people to see the issues that they were struggling with, but doing so in a way that they would then be able to kind of watch themselves for those issues in the future and actually like hold themselves accountable, rather than just like, you need to have the coach in your ear all the time in order to be successful. Sorry, I don't focus on that.
No worries. That's part of the reason I was being quiet, was because I didn't want to.
I appreciate that. can't jump fast enough. I don't heal. Oh, come on, dude. You gotta stay in the center of the stage. I'm just gonna do one taps instead of trying to get two in. Bruh.
Grim, you were really quiet.
Was that number 8 then?
Yeah, that was number 8. Yay! The way that you root for me is very unconventional. Just saying.
The community bonds over watching you die.
Well, what is it? To live is Christ and to die is gain?
I mean, I don't know if this is what they were referring to when they said that, but we'll go with it. Slack, does that mean that what's best for me is dying over and over again? Or at least until I learn my lesson? What say you, Grizz? About sovereignty and games and whatnot. I don't know if you caught any of the first part of the stream or not.
You should have sovereignty over whether or not you play games.
Agreed. Just try to get through the first phase of this so we can get on to the actual hard part. To be honest, I didn't think Mantis Sword was going to be this hard. Can I help you, Kelly? I'm like right in the middle of something, girl.
Blame it on the dog. Yay,
I'm not gonna blame it on the dog, but she's definitely distracting.
So this game is called Hollow Knight, and so all that other times when you were like, don't you dare go hollow, it's because if you do, you have to play this game.
Maybe something like that. Nah, this one just seemed like a good follow-up to Dark Souls for a bunch of different reasons. Although I think for the next one, if Mrs. Pilotson wants to play, then we'll probably do a duo there, but otherwise I will probably try something more narrative-focused, like Deus Ex or something. Can you please... Nope, my wife is plugged in. She's not paying any attention to the dog. I really cannot right now, Kelly. I am sorry.
This is what I would call a misprioritization.
I don't entirely disagree. Hang on, there we go. You need a pet, don't you? I forgot I could pause.
It might be. It has to go to the restroom, which would make it an even greater mispriority.
No, she's fine as far as potty goes. She just wants attention. Which you are correct, misprioritized and should give the dog some pets.
Yeah, but sometimes, just because something is of greater priority ultimately doesn't mean you have to give it your immediate attention.
No, but if I can pause the game, especially when I haven't pet her too much this evening relative to what she's used to and what she likes. And it's not like
I
League
was
of Legends or
hoping it was
something.
a bathroom issue and it was about to pee on you.
No, she's not having a
I
bathroom
keep
issue.
playing anyway.
She's just
That would have been great.
no. She's good on potty stuff. She just loves her daddy and wants her daddy to love her too. Okay, we good for now? Love you. Okay. Back to the game. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Number 9. Number 9.
No! We want to progress. We don't want to get stuck on the same level for 3 streams. No ONS repeats. Thank you. Could have maybe healed twice, but I don't think moving wise there. Come on, dude. As long as I stay in the middle of the stage and I don't get stupid jumped on again, I should be able to manage the fight. I paused to heal when I should not have. That was really dumb. If I can just take one of them out, then we can make the rest of this trivial. Ah!
Number 9.
Oh, I got this. I can feel that I have it. I just made a couple of stupid mistakes. I can get it on this one. I know the attack patterns. I know what to do. I'm just made a couple of execution mistakes. I can do this. I can do this. Plunge is bait.
You've got this.
Not sure what plunge is bait. I don't have the dive yet. I don't know if that's
No, I
like
think
part of
it's
the
I
stack.
think he's talking about how pretty consistently the move that you die on is the plunge, where one plunges and then you go to hit it and then the other one plunges right after.
Got it. So let me get some health back.
He's trying to teach you about your League of Legends coaching moves.
How to pay attention to what you're making mistakes with, so that way you can avoid making those mistakes in the future.
Mhm.
Alright, here we go. I jumped into that. If I die on phase 1, get 2 heals off of that, and I jumped into another flying loop disc. Because I wasn't paying attention to where he was on the wall.
Okay, you are allowed to win this time.
I'm allowed. You will permit it. Only heal once, don't heal twice. Okay, here we go.
You guys hear that lady make that pain noise?
Yeah.
I mean, they are praying mantises, so they're, I think, all female. Males don't really do so well, relatively speaking.
It's like a commentary.
It's like a gender relations commentary. Didn't quite get about that. And I dashed instead of jumping. Stop trying to hit twice, that's what's causing the problems. Just hit once, and then wait for the next attack to come.
Like, what if the plunge was bait?
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Okay, I was allowed to win. I chose
Number
not to win that time. That's what the thing was.
It's like I said, what if the plunge was bait? Because Slack said it, and then
Literally, that was the next thing that killed me.
Debate.
Yeah.
yeah, right after that.
Well, and I responded poorly to it because I could have potentially recovered, but I was like, I was mental stun locked, so as I fall into the acid. Okay. I do want to beat Mantis Lords on this stream, though. I don't want to. Well, if it goes until 9 Pacific, then I probably will stop, but we'll see. Should be able to.
Like one of my alters was on this Benjamin Boyce show, and I'm thinking about making a response video.
One of your altars? Like alter egos, or like... Or am I mishearing the word?
I think that was the word.
Like a response video to your own appearance on Benjamin Voice? Or...
You know, like the parts where I got it wrong,
Ah,
or left important details out, you know.
gotcha. Main issue is when they have 2 plunge attacks in a row that are close to the edge of the stage, then they can kind of push me into a spot where I'm cornered, and then when they jump from the side, like that was what really killed me on the last one, was they,
Yeah.
like, I dodged the 2 drop attacks, but that, because they were both near the edge and they pushed me further towards the edge, when the next one jumped down for a dash across the stage attack, that was what, like, because I'm trying to stay towards the middle of the stage specifically so I can jump over those and not get hit by them jumping onto the stage.
To be honest, it was like one of those things where you just kind of have to stay out of that area.
Yep. Well, but the problem was, it's like, if I'm in the middle and they push me towards the edge, what's the response? Because I don't know, like, I think I still get hit even if I jump up onto the wall. I don't think that that dodges it.
No.
So I think I just have to try like that. Like, if they
let
did
them
that and then
shoot.
jumped on top of me, I don't think I can dodge that. I just have to tank a hit and keep my health high enough that I'm not...
You can all dash center.
That's true too, actually. It's just hard when the first one that comes down is near the center, and it's hard to quickly tell, like that one, like that, right? Because the first one's coming down in the center, so maybe I need to stand slightly off center and then dash back towards the center? I think that's the answer. Yeah, okay. That is the answer. Yep, that's the answer. Holy crap. Okay. Thank you, Foxman.
You're welcome.
Oh, come on. Well.
11. You know, I like how like getting damaged is so visually disruptive as to throw you off the rest of your rhythm.
Yep. Well, and it's
nice.
not just visually disruptive, it's also timing disruptive. Like, it actually pauses game time slightly. Which is kind of... It can be helpful if you know how to utilize it, but it's definitely more like it just adds to the jarring feeling of getting hit.
It's just such a well-made game.
It really is. There we go. Alright. Anyway. Practice your tactics on the easy ones, that way you can do them better on the hard one. They do a dive attack, dash towards the middle from the side that you're on. Okay. Should just hit the moves closer. Now that's dumb. And I got hit by that even though I should have. One hit so that you cannot get hit by things. Here we go. Hey! There we go.
Is that lucky number 12?
I think that, well... Do we count the life or the death?
Attempt. Attempt's number 12.
Oh, this is... I think I died once or twice before getting here, so...
I don't know.
Yeah,
13.
something along those lines. And you want to see the price of sovereignty. This is what the Mantis had to defend against, was all of the bugs coming up out of Deep Nest, trying to take over their part of the Hollow Nest. Or Hollow Nest.
Now they're gonna run amok.
Well, I didn't kill
There
the
it is.
Mantises, I just defeated them.
Okay.
So now if I go back and I say hello, they rise, and then they bow to me, because they recognize that I am a great warrior as well. Even if it took me a couple of tries to get there. And now we're gonna go find a bench. We're gonna call it a night.
Do the other Mantises still attack?
Nope, they all bow.
Oh.
They show respect to a great warrior. Which is like, gosh, this game is so well made. It's not even funny how well made this game is.
Hey, Neil.
And now, this guy who was preventing me from getting into the bench before, he bows instead of locking me out. So I can come in, I can rest.
Af mentions Deus Ex. 30 minutes ago. Neil appears.
I am curious to see if he hears it and what his reaction is, but that is one of the things that I'm considering. I think it would be a good one to do.
Is there a
Oh, you mean he's in Discord?
Yeah.
My bad.
No, he's here.
I thought you were saying he was
He's
gonna
here.
show up.
He's behind you.
He's behind me, isn't he?
Is there a remastered version of Deus Ex?
There is. Yeah, there's a free mod that is on Steam to remaster and try to make it look a little better and play a little bit more easily.
Yeah, it's one of the... If Mrs. Pilotin wants to do It Takes Two with me, I'll probably do that one. But if she's still feeling a little shy, then I will probably try and do something a little more narrative focused, and I figured Deus Ex would be a good candidate for that. So, although I will probably do a few filler episodes as well.
If you've never played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2,
Ooh.
best story that I've ever encountered in Baldur's Gate 2 of any game,
Can you do
including
those
Deus Ex.
There is multiplayer.
So, there is?
Yeah.
Mrs. Pilotin
For
might be
at least
for
the
that.
Beam Dog releases. Yeah.
Or you could do StarCraft.
I could do StarCraft. I could actually try and get good enough at that we could do something competitive, at least for one of the filler episodes.
My
should do
queen.
I've been thinking about
am
doing
War.
Go ahead, Neil. I'm sorry.
I'm done with my swarm.
I was also thinking Half-Life 2 should probably be brought back into the attention.
Yes.
Since we're almost to the part where the buzzsaw drones actually exist.
Well, and also where the Combine come in and take over the... I don't know, we'll see.
Nobody wants to watch TLC StarCraft.
Hey, Slack came in too!
No
You know,
one.
Hey, Slack. I forgot how good the vibes of StarCraft were. Like how novel the cowboy, redneck, and space Terrans were. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, the Zerg were obviously novel, but Yeah, I think Starship Troopers was just before StarCraft, but even still, I think the Zerg were pretty darn novel.
Where did
But
Firefly
like,
fall in on that timeline?
I think,
Firefly came after because
Okay.
yeah,
the Cowboys in Space probably came from that writer playing StarCraft.
Okay. Well, because Cowboy.
But the
When was Cowboy Bebop?
Cowboy
Yeah, I was gonna
Bebop
look that up.
might have been before. It
Okay.
might be before.
like StarCraft 1 is like 95, so I don't know. But
Bebop is 98.
Okay. Was there anything else that inspired the like Cowboys in Space thing for StarCraft then, or was that truly a novel thing? I'm sure there was some literary thing that they were drawing from, but
I think they just thought the poor people would still sound like poor people.
Yeah, I read an article that at the time, all space sim and drama was all very polished and Star Trekky, and basically they said, what if we go in the precisely opposite direction? Yeah, rednecks in space.
That's what I actually found most impressive about StarCraft is the Protoss.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole like something that might be better than humans. People had the nerve to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, and like
Well,
something
I remember the first time I encountered carriers playing. This was at the very beginning of online gaming. I think it was around 1998, and I was playing on Net Zero dial-up, and I was loving it, clogging up my parents' phone line. And then I'm playing as Terrence. That's the only race I really know how to play.
Mhm.
And then I see carriers come on the screen and start destroying me, and I look at that and I go like, I have no idea how to even stop these. I have no idea what I'm fighting against. Like, yeah, it was just awesome in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Jamiroquai released Space Cowboy in '94.
Space Cowboy.
The song, the funk song.
Okay.
Some call me the gangster of
Oh,
love.
that. Okay. I
No,
was
that's
not
like
putting two and two together.
70s at the latest. That one's old.
Well, I think we got plenty of content to be able to do stuff for a good portion into the future.
Nobody ever does anything with content.
Oh, fuck you, Grizz. We're trying to do something right now with content.
No, I mean like going through and making your death compilation like we should. Nobody does the content.
I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna plan on doing tomorrow because I think by saying it, it ruins it. Because I get less motivated to do it if I say that I'm gonna do it. So I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna do it, and then we'll call it a day.
All right, see you tomorrow. Shut up.
Okay.
We'll get an editor.
Yeah, I'll pay for an editor. That's.
No, they need to be an intern.
Oh, an unpaid intern? Can they sing the Bo Burnham song for me?
They get paid in exposure. Yeah.
So, somehow I don't think.
Really, they should be paying you for the opportunity.
Exactly.
True.
Alright. Well, I think we'll call it there for the night then. Thank you guys for coming on, and if anybody else is still out in the audience, thanks for sticking with us. Good night then. Be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow.